Michal, do you have any specific guidelines for how to study these? We're going to study for about 10, 15 minutes approximately, and then we're going to gather together and discuss it. Everybody will share with us your Torah insights, what you gleaned from mining the text for new insights. So that's the structure is pretty much about a quarter of an hour. We're going to be learning in pairs, Chavruta study. Then we're going to gather together and we'll have a group discussion of the learning guided by Michal. And then we're going to say some final concluding words, preparing us for the great revelation. 3 more days, if my count is correct. Go ahead. Well, 46 out of 49, that's 3 more. So 3 more days.
Then it's the next step.
Go ahead.
So, hi everybody. What I'm bringing here for us to learn is chapter 19, Perek Yutet in Shemot. We just talked about it in the class before, so it's connecting. Yeah, it's pretty connecting. But this chapter is interesting. It's sort of the preparation for Matan Torah. When we think what happened on Shavuot, we're actually celebrating Shavuot. We call it Chag Matan Torah. It's not Chag HaTorah, not the holiday of Torah. Maybe all holidays are holidays of Torah. It is the holiday of the receiving of Torah. The receiving of Torah itself is an event that has to be learned. It's not just the content of the Torah. How it was received is also very, very important, given a lot of space in the Torah itself. And that's what happened on this day. On this day, it was revealed. The Torah was revealed. What exactly was revealed? The 10 Commandments. How many of them were revealed? Interesting discussions and options for learning on Shavuot. What exactly Hashem said? What did they hear? Who heard? Where were they at each point? What I want to do, and you'll see now, I want you guys to read chapter 19. I can never just bring a pasuk and learn it. You have to see the whole chapter. So you have the whole chapter here in English. It's not in Hebrew. So people who want to see it in Hebrew wouldn't be enough space. So if anyone wants to learn the Hebrew, which is definitely recommended, then either take it on your phone, take a shmot, find I'm sure there are enough chumashim around that you could learn. But here's the English. Read the English, and then we're going to focus on really the event at the very end. It says on the page, the question we're going to have is, where was Moshe Rabbeinu when the Aseret Dibrot were revealed? Where was he? And you'll see why this is a question when you guys learn the parak, okay? And then you'll see, and there are some commentaries after the parakim that I'd like you guys to look at. There's some questions, guiding questions on the pages here. And at the end, there's a fascinating midrash that you should take a look at. All this in 15 minutes. It's no problem. So come on, go ahead. Take the pages here. You have to divide up into Shavrutot. Find someone who you don't know. Or you haven't
spread out in the room. Stay in the room, please. But
okay, so wait, there's 2 pages. There's that page and this page.
Oh, there's a second page.
Yes, there's a second
2
page.
pages.
There's a page double-sided and then another page.
Put it aside.
Yes. I don't know here, but for sure the other side will find.
Thank you so much.
Anybody need a sparring partner here?
Yossi, here. Yossi.
I'm Abiel. Nice to meet you.
There's 2.
Yeah.
I brought some machines.
If anyone wants a chumash,
שני החברים נכנסו עכשיו, הוצאתי אותם לעמותות, התחלתי את התפקיד שלי לפני 35 שנים. So one for each person?
Two each. Two pages. There you go. Thank you. You set. What's up? What's that? During
Why is it so important? What's Yeah, 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes. Not enough. Five more minutes.
Yeah, we're starting soon. It's a long-term thing. We're not
Guys, 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes.
What do you want? He's going to have a discussion.
So, if we can have your attention, please. One of the hardest things. One of the hardest things to do is to stop people from learning Torah. And I think, I mean, it's very what we're doing now. When I'm stopping you from learning Torah is, I think, exactly what we're going to be learning here. Of that, I'm doing exactly what I shouldn't be doing, really, when we're learning here. I hope we'll get to that as we learn the sources we have here. But I hope everyone saw the parak, saw the chapter, saw the machlokut between the Sforno and Ibn Ezra, and saw the midrash. Did everyone get through the sources? Great. You said yes, right? Fantastic teachers event. Someone says yes. I said, okay, good. Everyone saw it. So just let's start it off here a little. Let's hear what people came up with. I want to just, on the first question I asked, there's a lot of imagery going on here in Ma'amad Har Sinai. It's a very visual event. Ad kedei kach, Chazal say, right, that the ro'im et hakolot. In other words, there was even Am Yisrael saw the sound. Everyone asked, how does that work? What happened? There was a very, very powerful event happening here in Har Sinai. And I think all of us, when thinking on whatever level we thought of it, sort of have an image of what it looked like, how it appeared, what really happened, where the people were, where Moshe was, what it was in the morning. It's a very, very powerful visual event. Where did you guys think offhand? Now you're already telling me the Chachamim, you already saw the different opinions. But beforehand, I want to ask the first question. When you thought, all of you, thought of Har Sinai, the giving of the Ten Commandments, Hashem speaking the Ten Commandments to the people, where was Moshe Rabbeinu in your mind? Just a quick, who saw Moshe Rabbeinu as on Har Sinai, up on the top of the mountain, holding the Luchot? Already there. The Luchot are given at the very end of the 40 days. In the movie, right? We saw it. I'm sorry. Just put on the Ten Commandments and just the end of it. Who saw Moshe not on top of the mountain in their visuals before learning? Where did you see him, Asher? Where was he? With the people. That's how you always envisioned the Seret Dibra. Or are you cheating and you're like using the thing?
Learning it.
Okay, learning it. You also saw it? I'm sorry, I don't. What's your name? Ben. You also saw Moshe down on the. You also raised your hand. You saw Moshe down.
No.
Okay, sorry, we can't say this. There weren't enough hands that went up here. I'm going to ask again. Who saw Moshe Rabbeinu down at the bottom of the mountain in their minds from before, when thinking about Ma'amad Har Sinai? Besides Asher.
From before, I think.
What? From before learning, right? Before learning.
Not before today.
No.
I always imagine on top of the mountain. Like,
No, it was in the movie. It was on the top.
That's how I always imagine that.
What?
I always imagine that Moshe Rabbeinu is on top of the mountain having Shavuot with Hashem, he receives the law.
The whole time, Hirsch, you're saying you saw Moshe Rabbeinu. He was up
I
there.
assume.
You assumed, for sure, yeah. Assumed and saw. But said no. Well, then we saw this, right?
I never, when I read that story, I'm now thinking, I never thought that they got the Ten Commandments at that moment.
That I think you saw that
Yeah,
they
when they
didn't
have it
receive
on
it.
the
That
mountain.
Moshe had the Ten
Yeah,
Commandments come
I
down.
never pictured with the Ten Commandments that story together.
That it was really presented from the top. So good. So it's good we read the chapter and we saw the thing. Again, reading the Perek is always the most important thing here. And even if we got nothing else, the fact that everyone here sat and learned Perek Yutet of Shmot is its own reward. But when we see, first of all, just elementary level, there's a machloket parshanim b'metziut, right? But in reality, where was Moshe Rabbeinu? The Sforno clearly says, and there are a whole bunch of slew of other parshanim, right, of other commentaries who say the same. Moshe was on the bottom of the mountain. What do you think? Is that pshat or not pshat? Who's the pshat? Ibn Ezra. They're both pashtanim, the Sforno and the Ibn Ezra. They're both trying to understand the words. Who is more pshat? Who's more connected directly to the psukim? The Sforno or the Ibn Ezra? The Ibn Ezra says he went back up. Who do you guys think? Who's more? The Sforno. Why? Prove it to me. Someone prove me that Sforno is more.
Because in chapter 19, verse 24 and 25, it says, Hashem asked him to go down to the people and be with Aaron. And in 25, Moshe went down to the people and spoke to them. And in the continuation of the chapter 20, it says, Vaydaber Elohim et kol hadevarim ha'ele le'omer. So he was speaking. He didn't say he gave it to read it. He said he spoke, and then that was being, spoken to the people.
And Moshe was
With the people.
with the people. That's the last verse, right? The last verse of chapter 19. And Moses went down to the people and spoke to them. If he was on the top of the mountain, what would you expect to see? That he went back, right? The Tanakh knows how to say that he went back. In the chapter before, in all Perek Yutet, what was second? You'll see. In all of chapter Yutet, he's going up and down, right? He says he goes up, he goes down, he goes up, he goes down, he goes up, he goes down, and he went down. It doesn't say he went back up. If we don't, it just doesn't say. In other words, they know how to say it. It's part of the Perek where it says he goes up when he goes up. So that's what this foreigner says, right? Ibn Ezra though doesn't accept that. But yes, you wanted to say something. Sorry.
I was going to say exactly like you that throughout the entire pasuk we're seeing that he's going up and he's going down. Clearly, this is a demonstration telling us, of how this is working. That Moshe goes up. Either Hashem speaks to Moshe or Moshe speaks to Hashem or both, and then he comes down. And every time, each and every time it says he's gone up, he's gone down. The other thing is, you read at the end where it says it's important for the people to know that these 10 commandments are coming from Hashem directly. Like all throughout this entire time now, even from Mitzrayim, all the miracles except perhaps Malchus Bechoros was done Hashem through Moshe. It was Hashem enacting through Moshe these miracles.
Yes, he's right.
But now is an important distinction for the people to know that it's not Moshe up on the mountain and Hashem speaking through him. It's that Hashem is speaking to them directly.
Okay, you're saying this is a break in what's happened until now, and it's necessary for Moshe not to be there. I think Rabbi wants to say something.
I sided with Ebenezer.
Good. Baruch Hashem.
Because first of all, the Pasuk before says, he went down and tell them they can't go up the mountain. Then he went back up. So when they can't go up on the mountain, that's when they're receiving the Torah. So Moshe was up.
Again, everyone say it again.
So Hashem said, go down and come back together with Aaron.
Right.
Let not the priests or the people break people to come up to Hashem.
They
Is there an Isser of Haggalah when the Torah is coming down?
Okay.
And Moshe was up.
And Moshe at that point was up, you're saying. So that may be the basis for the Ibn Ezra.
Where did you give us the
What?
Where did you give us?
Here.
On the second page.
The second page.
But that would be on the first.
Right. It would not be on the first page. It would be on the second page.
Thank you.
I'd like to quote on Ibn Ezra again on the last Pasuk of chapter 19. In his commentary, it says that Moshe and Aaron went back, but just beyond the boundary. That does not mean top of the mountain.
You're saying even in the Ibn Ezra.
Yeah, he specified, he just went beyond the boundary. So the boundary can be
halfway.
Yeah, the bottom
Right, it could
of
be
the
halfway,
mountain,
right,
but
okay.
just a few meters or maybe.
So it could be.
Still at the bottom.
It could be. It
So
could be.
he's against his own words.
It could be interesting. So I was just saying maybe the Ibn Ezra may not say he's going all the way back up. There may be another place, and they're different there. Moshe's, the other statements, Moshe is in a certain place, Aaron's in a certain place, the Kohanim are in a certain place, the people are in a certain place, and there's a hierarchy on the mountain itself. It's another way to explain. I remember reading once Kasuto, who said clearly Moshe was on the top of the mountain. Because obviously he's on the top of the mountain when he gets Seret Dibra. With no proof inside. It's not a classic Kasuto thing to say. But I think that is like sort of like well, of course Moshe's on top of the mountain. Where else is Moshe going to be in the Seret Dibra? Even though, as we've seen in the Psukim, and this Forno says clearly, no, he's not there. And really, I'm just holding this, besides the fact that in my mind, I always get excited when you could read Psukim 2 different ways, 3, 4, 5 different ways, and you sort of ask, so what's right? Well, what happened? What really happened there? And I think that's the beauty of the Torah, is that deal with this. That it's we don't know, and you, as a Lomed Torah, as a Yehudi who's given this amazing present, has to understand that this present is multifaceted, that there's many different kivunim happening here. This is in my mind, the beauty of Torah. But let's come to the Midrash at the end. Okay, the Midrash at the end seems to side with this Forno. You guys saw the Midrash at the end, right? And it does it very very colorfully, right? That Hashem is trying to get rid of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's really what he's trying to do. He wants to give this edict, he wants to give this commandment, and it's just bothering him that Moshe is there. And he tries to get rid of him one way, and it doesn't work, so he tries another way, tricks him to get off the mountain, go down, right? If you guys saw the Midrash, you know what I'm talking about here. And he wants him down. It seems it's really important to Hashem that Moshe not be up there. The Midrash is powerful in what it says, because then Am Yisrael will be confused who gave the Torah, which is really something to think about. But really, the major point of what I want to talk about, again, the Midrash is just emphasizes it very powerfully, is what would the Torah be if Moshe was on top of the mountain, and what is the Torah when Moshe is on the bottom of the mountain? And in my mind, that's the key to what's happening here. It's a different Torah. There is a Torah, what we call sort of Torah Moshe, and there is Torah delay. So it's turning the Torah into ours. The Torah can be ours.
What changes was
What?
What changes? What's different? Like he's just walking up the mountain for like 10 minutes.
So I think the difference is there someone standing between Dvar Hashem and us? And that's sort of how I opened when we started learning here, that what I'm doing now is exactly afuk than what I should be doing. In other words, Torah learning, even though we receive it through many teachers, and we all have learned and have learned and should learn from teachers, and we must learn from teachers, there's something almost magical about the direct opening up a book, opening up a Dvar Hashem, and reading that, learning that, speaking directly to Hashem. The Torah in its essence is Hashem's word to us. But it's not just us it's to us. Every single person. Moshe, just like the last person, Am Yisrael, you're all on the bottom of the mountain. There's no one up high. It's not the Torah, I'm going to talk to Moshe, and Moshe is going to tell you. And that's why at the end, when the people come and they say, no, Moshe, you talk to us. Right? Right after this, right after I said Dibrot, Am Yisrael is going to say, no, Moshe, we can't hear this, we're scared, whatever it is, you talk. And Moshe says, no, Hashem wants to raise you up. He wants you to hear directly from Him. You directly from Hashem. You have direct access to the Torah. It has to be each and every one of you. At the end, it didn't work. They can't handle it.
But also not by way of Rabbi Art.
What?
Also not by way
not by art, which is another. But these are all prisms. Now they help. They're all helpers to let us access the Torah, to approach the Torah. So whoever needs whatever is needed is beseder. That's but the point, I think, is to really have a direct learning of the Torah. That's why I feel also there are different parts of learning. When everyone here is sitting, learning together, learning mamash, learning the thing, it's so much better than if I get up here and give a shiur. In that sense, even though the shiur is needed and it helps and it adds and it moves up, it's a different event when someone is giving over their Torah, the prism through someone, and when you're approaching the Torah. Both are important, but the essence of Torah, this is what I said, the essence of Torah is when you individually, you yourself, meet the Torah, learn the Torah, attempt to understand Dvar Hashem. And was what Hashem wasn't willing to give up on. Ad kedei kach, that He stops the event of Matan Har Sinai. If everyone reading the parak, right? It seems that we're about to reach the Ten Commandments, and suddenly Hashem says, no, Moshe, go down. Go do this. And Moshe says, we already did it. Oh, so go do that. Just go down, because I cannot give the Torah when you're here. I can't give Aseret HaDibrot when you're up here. I just can't. It's against the essence of what I want to happen. So, Bezrat Hashem, Shavuot is Matan Torah, very soon. And there's a question, what do you do on Shavuot, Bennett? What do you do on Shavuot?
In addition to cheesecake.
In addition, there's Doraita Yareg Val Yavor, there's cheesecake that you have to have, and then there are all other things you do. The schmoozing, which is also important, and then maybe also some Torah. But when you're sitting and learning what the direct Magat, I think everyone should have at least part of their day on Shavuot, should be sitting and learning themselves. With the Chavruta, that's fine. Opening a book, and the shiurim are great, they're important. They also help sometimes when I'm falling asleep, when I'm just reading, so I should go hear someone else. But if you can find the time to directly connect to Dvar Hashem, I think that's the essence of Torah, and Vadai Ra'ui. Fitting to do on Shavuot. So, Bezrat Hashem, we'll all be accepting the Torah, meaning the Torah. Dvar Hashem.
I'm going to add one more thing before I go with this one to share some Torah. I wanted to share some Torah with you, but I'm waiting for Michael to leave because I don't want to, it's private.
Yeah, 5 minutes and I'm leaving.
What I'm trying to say is that perhaps there's another element of why God says, I don't want Moshe around. I got to kick him out because it's got to be intimate. it's got to be personal. You know, two's company, three's a crowd. I think there's an expression like that, right? So when God revealed Himself to each and every individual, I didn't want Moshe there. It's not appropriate. It's too personal. It's too personal. So that's another element that I would add. That why he sort of had to get Ramicha out of the room, so we can talk about it. No, we're not talking about it. Shekoyach, beautiful Torah. We should be zocheh to learn together. Remember this one.
So, first, Shar Kochachat to Rabbi Menachem for initiating this great idea, and to Rabbi Michal for implementing it. I'm the shamish. I find the place. I buy the cookies. I can really compete with these two great rabbis and their direction and their Torah, and the fact that the Rav Aaron sitting learning Chavruta with the Talmidim is also fantastic. Yishar Koch, I think we have a great staff. God has merited us to have such a wonderful staff. And a year ago we were in Corona. A year and a half and 2 years we were in Corona. Some of you were zooming from America and Europe to our shiurim. You weren't with us. You were with us virtually, but not realistically. Some in Eretz Yisrael were opening up as well. And now the Torah is getting greater. And it's a tremendous chut. When we finish, we're going to be going downstairs to have the Rosh Hashiva, Rabbi Gon. And Rabbi Gon, as you know, was nurtured, raised in the yeshiva of Merkaz Rav Kook, and learned from Rav Tzuyuda. And Rav Tzuyuda would often, I learned from the Talmidim of Rav Tzuyuda, like Rabbi Gon, Rav Zalman Melamed, and others, Rav Druckmann. He would often talk about the yeshiva is learning together. The yeshiva is learning Masechet Brachot. The yeshiva is learning Masechet Baba Kama. There's an amazing value when we, as a unit together, everyone, the partitions that separated us in Rav Menachem's morning shur to Rav Michal's shur to Rav Aaron's shur to the Gemara, advanced Gemara shur, the fact that we're here together, learning the same subject, the same topic, that's a tremendous value, because that's a value of a tzibur. And as we know, our special character trait, in addition to each and everyone being a righteous person or looking to work on his midot to become a chassid or this or that, first and foremost, we're part of the nation of God. And when a unit, a tzibur, sits and learns together, wow, that's a public value of this noble mitzvah called Talmud Torah. The learning that we just did, which covers the arrival, or really is initiated with the arrival of the Jewish people at the beginning of that chapter. I think it's part of the Torah reading that we're going to read. How many aliyot are we going to be reading on Yom Tov? 5 aliyot. I think we're going to start off B'chodesh HaShlishi, the beginning of the chapter. In those first two initial psukim, notice which word is not repeated, doesn't appear just twice, but even 3 times. I'm reading it. B'chodesh HaShlishi l'tzeit b'nei Yisrael be'eretz me'eretz Mitzrayim v'yom hazeh bo'u midbar Sinai v'yisu merfidim v'yavo midbar Sinai v'yachanu b'midbar. Obviously, the word appears 3 times. Saw a wonderful divrei Torah of Rav Chanan Porat Zecher Tzadik Levracha, when, based on Chazal, the idea of HaKadosh Baruch Hu prophesizing Moshe Rabbeinu in Mitzrayim and spelling out the stages of the upcoming redemption. And there we see what we commonly call the Arba Lashonot Geula. And then there's a 5th one, Ve'iveti, V'otzeiti, V'tzalti, V'galti, V'lekachti, and then Ve'iveti. The first 4, according to the Ramban and others, are bringing the Jewish people to Mamad Har Sinai. V'lekachti especially is giving them the Torah, allowing their skula to be revealed. But number 5 is Jewish people are now departing from the Midbar and going to be arriving in the Holy Land of Eretz Yisrael. That'll be Vehei Veiti. The plan is that in between Yetziat Mitzrayim and our entrance going into the land of Israel, we're going to be the benefactors of Torah Hashem, which, like Rav Michal also mentioned, in many other places is also called Torah Moshe, like the prophet says, Zichru Torah Moshe Avdi. The fact that we're going to be coming into Eretz Yisrael with the Torah, this is our banner. This is our flag. This is our nobility. This is what's going to allow all the inner divine attributes that are inborn inside us, that are innate inside us, to be revealed, to be productive, to be productive and developing other great levels. We're not going to go into the Torah, into the land, and capture the land without this great Sefer Torah. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. Why did the Torah open up with creation? Shouldn't it start, as the famous Midrashic question Rabbi Yitzchak asks on Shemot chapter 12, Achodesh hazeh lachem, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, isn't the Torah just a book of mitzvot? Shouldn't we just start with the calendar, the lunar Hebrew calendar of the Jewish people, creating Achodesh hazeh lachem? And Rabbi Yitzchak, his answer is, there's going to come a time, and the nations are going to say, not listmen, they're going to say, listim atem. You're a bunch of robbers, not listmen. Listim, you're a bunch of robbers. You're stealing our land. That's why most of the people are not left. And what are we going to say? God created the world. And God's plan through the Torah is for a nation to walk into its land and live as a healthy, authentic nation based on a life of Torah and mitzvot. But first and foremost, our visa, our entrance card to go into Eretz Yisrael is God's plan. And God's plan is through the Torah. So apparently, we have to go through a midbar, hear the Ten Commandments, learn the Torah, to what extent, and remember, had 40 days transpired without Chet HaEgel, we would have walked right in, already in that month, into Eretz Yisrael. Had that sin not happened, if I'm not mistaken, Chazal say, we would have been on such a high spiritual level, all we would have been receiving from God would be Chamisha Chumshei Torah and Sefer Yoshua. That would be it. We'd be on such a high level, God doesn't have to appoint prophets to rebuke, to reprimand, to correct us. But the failure happened. And we have to learn about that failure. But before that failure, when we're leaving Mitzrayim, there's a doubt that some of the people have. As the Ramban, as the Ibn Ezra brings it. Is it true that this person, Moshe Rabbeinu, that God speaks to him? Could it be? It sounds so irrational, unhuman. God, the absolute, the unlimited, he speaks. That's what Moshe says. He hears messages. A human being on the planet of Earth has the ability to hear the divine entity. So as many of the Rishonim explain, that's the reason for this Sinai movement to Sinai. And for the people to prepare themselves spiritually, mentally, psychologically, laundering their clothing, doing all these things, to get ready for this unbelievable revelation. The same doubt that the people had, God doesn't want that doubt to remain whatsoever. And we saw the different shitot of the Rishonim, if Moshe was up, if Moshe was in the middle, if Moshe was down, wherever it was, God is going to reveal his prophetic powers to the entire nation. And when he does it, and whether we say Moshe was above or Moshe was down, and there are reasons why Moshe should be down, the entire nation will now understand that they also have prophetic powers. Is it like Moshe? Maybe the answer is yes. Maybe the answer is together no. Because as the Rambam explains in his wonderful Sefer, which is a must for all of us, in his Sefer Hagdama Perusha Mishnah, as an intro to the study of Mishnah and Talmud, at the same time that the nation has this spiritual DNA, these genes, unlike any nation on the planet of Earth, that we belong to the divine, and therefore the divine entity can appear through us. We can be recipients of a divine message, of values, of morals, the most noble of the world, because the nation of God is the most noble nation of the world. At the same time, the Rambam says, don't forget, there is Nivuat HaNevi'im, and there is something above that, and that is Nivuat Moshe Rabbeinu. The Torah, as Rabbi Michal explained, is so divine, is so special. I want to go now in a different direction. We need a level of prophecy that's unfounded, that's not at all in existence at the Jewish people's level. There's a level of prophecy for the Jewish people that later we'll meet up with Aaron, and we meet up with Yoshua and Gidon and Shmuel and David and Shlomo and Yeshua and Yirmiyahu and Yechezkel and all those. We meet up with them. They all have prophecy. But there is someone who's on the top league that no one can match him. Why? Because in order to bring down this divine Torah, we need a Nivuat Moshe Rabbeinu. It's impossible without it. Yes, the nation heard God speaking. Yes, the nation has those divine genes of prophecy inside them. But in order to bring down this such divine, this absolute Torah, we need a Moshe Rabbeinu. And Moshe Rabbeinu, don't be mistaken, as the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot, he stems, his greatness nurtures, but Am Yisrael, Rashi says it emphatically. They're in the famous Gemara. I forgot it right now, just left my mind. But Shakoach Rav, Nisiyat Tova. We'll see the Rav tomorrow, God willing, B'ezrat Hashem. Moshe Rabbeinu and the nation of Israel, there's an equation. Even though right now we sketched a gigantic vacuum, a gigantic difference between Nivuat Moshe Rabbeinu and Nivuat of Am Yisrael. Moshe Rabbeinu stems, his uniqueness, his kedusha, even his prophetic powers stem from the Jewish people, yet he's above and beyond. God created his ability of prophecy to be a one-time ability to bring down this divine Torah. Why? Because Torah is not going to be given a second time.
Are we the reason he's above and beyond?
God created this kedusha to the nation of Israel, and from that he created something, from that essence, he created something more lofty, more high, and that's Nivuat Moshe Rabbeinu for then and then only. The Torah was given once, and it's not going to be given a second time. When a student studies Torah, and we're getting psyched up for Shavuot night and Shavuot day, and we're going to be together, we have a lot of shiurim, there's going to be plenty of time to learn the Beit Midrash, like Rabbi Michal says as well, okay? And there will be several rabbis here in the Beit Midrash. Rabbi Aaron, God willing, will be here. Rabbi Moshe Kaplan will be here. Myself, I'm going to be here, God willing. Sometimes you say something, you understand something, and the Gemara says, wow, you said such a wonderful chidush. Moshe Shapir Kamarta. You know, you're like a Moshe Rabbeinu. You said this great novelty. In other words, when we're studying Torah Shebaal Peh, which of course God's Brit, God's covenant was made on the Torah Shebaal Peh. When we're studying Mishnah, we're studying Gemara, we're studying Midrash Halacha, Midrash Haggadah, we get to a great understanding. Sometimes you'll see a reaction of the fellow scholars in the Beit Midrash in Bavel. Wow, you're like a Moshe Rabbeinu. You said Achidush like a Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Shapir, you said a great words, Kamarta. I want to end this idea that I'm saying right now and say the following. This group that's here, I have to compliment them. Your study has been so great. We've now completed 1 month of this month. And there's no greater preparation for us as a tzibur and for everyone else here sitting here as a public, that your decision not to be elsewhere but rather to be here Your decision to nurture, to make yourself a vehicle to learn Torah. You're giving up other things. It reminds us the famous in the Shirat Be'er that appears in later Parshat Balak. And there the Torah tells us, and prophetically and also poetically, Umimidbar matana. From the midbar, we get to a matana. The Torah apparently had to be given in the midbar. And the Torah says, Chazal say, when you make yourself like a desert, when people can just stop, walk up, thresh upon you, and you don't react. It doesn't make you important. You have humility. You have modesty. You're nullifying yourself. You're surrendering yourself before the great divine entity. That apparently is the prescription that's needed to grow in Torah. Each and every one made a decision. Where not to be. But more important, where to be. That means you're surrendering yourself. You have hachna'ah. You're humbling yourself. You're nullifying other things before the great divine entity. That decision is carrying you. But not only carrying you have to know, you're building the Jewish people. What makes the world go around is not the Tokyo Stock Exchange. What makes the world go around is your Torah study. Im lo briti yomam v'layla chukot shamayim v'aretz lo samti, the prophet says. Your study of Torah is allowing the laws of gravity to continue. That's what's doing it. So I wanted to compliment every one of you. Lech bekochachem zeh, go with this force, with this power, with your study of Torah. And right now, approach the upcoming days. And remember, soak in this Kedusha, this public learning in the yeshiva, in the Beit Midrash. Push yourself to whatever extent you can do it, because opportunity doesn't always happen. Sometimes we don't want to wait to get to the older ages of certain persons that are starting to learn it, like Rabbi Akiva and more. And we commend them for their amazing hatmada, their amazing being constant every day in the Beit Midrash. There's some people there that are studying the last 15, 20 years in Machon Meir. I'm not going to tell you who they are. I'm not going to mention what their names are. What? So I want to commend all of you and give you a blessing from a small person like me in many ways, that Machon Meir is blessed. And part of that blessing is your presence and your study of Torah. And we're looking very much forward to spending Shabbat and Shavuot together. And just a little word for someone with little experience. Sometimes when you have a great high, spiritually, there's room for a letdown. The difference between the rookies and the stronger is preventing that letdown. I'm already looking the day after Yontif. Someone called me up. Is it true that in Machon Meir, the day after Yom Tov is like in Misrad HaChinuch, it's a day off? You know, in the Board of Education, in order for the people to give them a landing pattern to the day after Yontif, there's a day off in the Board of Education. Here, there's a day off. Someone asked us on Chanukah, do we get vacation on Chanukah to study Torah? So let's open up the Gemara Masechet Shabbat Daf Kaf Aleph. What does it say there? The Gemara asks, "My Chanukah? What is Chanukah?" The Torah Rabbana. Our rabbis taught. We learn Torah. That's what Chanukah is about, learning Torah as well. Yeah, we have a few days vacation. We go hiking in the desert, this and that. But this is it, gentlemen. We're learning Torah to grow and build ourselves and build the Jewish people. So I want to wish everyone all the best. B'ezrat Hashem. We're going to stop here. You can still take refreshments, make it after bracha. We're going to meet downstairs for the Rosh Yeshiva Shi'or. I just want to tell you something short. The schedule is up. I want to just tell you briefly about the 4 shiurim we have at night. Our lineup is the following. Rav Moshe Kaplan is going to teach the first shiur right after the Suda at night, 10:45, about the great Gilui that the Beit Yosef, Rav Yosef Cairo had, the revelation of God to the Beit Yosef, Rav Yosef Cairo. Then we have a rabbi instructed, most of you never saw or never met, Rabbi David Samson. Rabbi David Samson, one of the more prominent Anglo Talmidei Chachamim that came out of the yeshiva Merkaz Rav Kook. He's been giving a shiur for the last 35, 40 years.